The metabolic processes that occur in animals produce waste products that need to be removed from the body, some of which are toxic. So, for example, cellular respiration produces carbon dioxide that is dissolved in the blood, and this waste product needs to leave the body, and it does so through the respiratory organs, so for example when you breathe out. Well, another source of waste is produced during the oxidation of protein, and protein is an essential part of the diet of animals as a source of amino acids. Amino acids that are not used by the body can't be stored in the body, and excess amino acids are broken down by the liver in invertebrates. In this process, the nitrogen-containing amino acid group is removed in a process called deamination. And during deamination, the amine group of the amino acid is converted to ammonia. Ammonia is toxic to cells, so it has to be rapidly removed from the body or converted to a less toxic compound, such as urea or uric acid. Neither urea nor uric acid are of any further use to animals, and so it needs to be excreted. In mammals, this is the job of the excretory system, also known as the urinary system. The excretory system is also vital to the regulation of body fluids, known as osmoregulation. In humans, cells in the liver convert the ammonia to the less toxic urea. Urea is dissolved in the blood and carried to the organs that excrete it from the body. The excretory system consists of a pair of kidneys, the ureters, the urinary bladder, and the urethra. Kidneys are bean-shaped organs. In humans, they're about the size of a fist, and their job is to remove excretory products from blood plasma. They're located at the back of the upper abdomen at either side of the spinal column. The kidneys function by filtering blood, then reabsorbing useful substances and secreting unwanted ones in urine. The kidneys are connected to the urinary bladder by tubes called ureters. The urinary bladder temporarily stores urine until it is released from the body. The urethra is the tube that carries urine from the urinary bladder to the outside of the body through urination. The kidneys are connected to the circulatory system via renal arteries and veins, and to the bladder via the ureters. The renal artery brings blood containing nitrogenous waste and water, blood proteins, red blood cells, and minerals dissolved in the blood plasma to the kidneys. The kidneys can hold as much as 25% of the body's blood at any given time because they are the filters that remove wastes from the blood plasma, which is pretty amazing. The kidneys are composed of two layers of tissue, an outer darker coloured layer called the cortex, and an inner layer which is a lighter colour, and it's called the medulla. The medulla surrounds the central cavity, which is also known as the renal pelvis. The renal pelvis branches into smaller and smaller vessels until millions of capillaries are formed. The capillaries enter a nephron, where filtration of the blood actually occurs. Each kidney contains between 1 and 2 million nephrons, and nephrons are located within the cortex and medulla of each kidney. Nephrons filter water and solutes from the blood. Each nephron consists of a ball of capillaries called glomerulus. The glomerulus is situated inside the Bowman's capsule, which look like a hollow rubber ball. The renal artery pumps blood into the glomerulus, and this is where filtration occurs. As these capillaries are tightly bound into the Bowman's capsule, they are under an enormous amount of pressure, and this pressure forces out some of the water and all the solutes, except for protein, from the blood through tiny pores and into the Bowman's capsule. And this process is called ultrafiltration, and it leaves the filtrate inside the glomerulus. This filtrate contains water, glucose, salts, and urea. Large molecules, such as protein, are too large to fit through the blood capillary walls. The filtrate collected by the Bowman's capsule then enters the proximal convoluted tubule. Then it's moved through a hairpin-shaped structure called the loop of Henle. As it moves through these structures, approximately 99% of the filtrate, including salts, glucose, amino acids, and water, but only half or less of the urea, undergoes reabsorption along the length of the nephron. These tubes of the nephron are surrounded by cells and a network of blood vessels spread throughout the tissue, and therefore material that leaves the nephron enters the surrounding cells and returns to the bloodstream by a network of vessels. Virtually all glucose and amino acids are reabsorbed in the convoluted tubules by active transport against a concentration gradient. Water is absorbed as it moves through the loop of Henle. This occurs through osmosis. A large amount of sodium chloride pumped out of the loop of Henle is retained in the medullary region of the kidney, producing a very high salt concentration. The osmotic concentration within the kidney therefore increases dramatically from the outer cortex to the medulla. When the urine finally passes down the collecting tubules towards the ureter, it passes through this region of high salt concentration. The collecting tubule is permeable to water, but not to salt, and as such the water moves through the collecting tubule back into the kidney and then back into the bloodstream. This results in the urine becoming concentrated because of the removal of water. The ureter transports the concentrated urine from the kidney to the urinary bladder where it is stored, and when the bladder is distended with urine, in other words it's full, it releases the urine through a sphincter muscle to the urethra, which discharges the urine. On average, about 600 ml of fluid flows through each kidney every minute. Approximately 20% of the fluid is filtered into the nephron. If all this fluid were excreted, you'd have to drink at least 1 litre of fluid every 10 minutes just to maintain water balance. Fortunately, reabsorption ensures that about 119 ml of the fluid, along with some essential materials, is put back into the body. The remaining 1 litre becomes urine. Urine is approximately 95% water, with the remaining 5% consisting of dissolved salts, urea, and a few other substances. And a typical adult excretes approximately 25 grams of urea per day.